Hello friends, welcome to day 4 of our training on SQL. In the previous session, we had understood about primary key. We spoke about composite primary key and unique key. These were the three things that we had covered in the previous session. So primary key is a way in which we can recognize each and every record in a unique manner in a table. And a table can have only one primary key. Of course, the primary key could be a combination of multiple fields, but there can be only one primary key. So if we create a primary key on multiple fields put together, then that is called as a composite primary key. We also discussed about unique key. And one more thing about primary key is that when you define something as a primary key, nulls will not be accepted. We cannot enter null value under a column that is marked as the primary key. Then unique key. Unique key is also a way in which we can uniquely recognize each and every record present in the table. Then how is it different from a primary key? Because the definition of both of them seem to be the same. You can have multiple unique keys in a table, and unique key will also accept null values. So that is the main difference between the two. And these are the kind of questions that you might get in interview also. What is the difference between primary key and unique key? All right. So let's look at the agenda for today. We are going to understand about the foreign key constraint. All of these are constraints. Why are they constraints? Because we are going to put this is basically a kind of a rule that we are defining, that only these things will be allowed, these things will not be allowed, right? Like only unique values will be allowed, nulls will not be allowed. So not null constraint. In this case, primary key constraint or unique key constraint. Similarly here, today we are going to talk about foreign key constraint, check constraint. And if time permits, we will also be focusing on DDL commands, of which we are already looking at the create statement. There are 4 DDL commands, and we have already started working with the create DDL command. What is DDL also? We shall be looking at it. So I will switch to PG admin and connect to Postgres 15 server, under which to the training database, which I had created in the previous sessions. And under schemas, over here we have tables, and I'm going to very quickly delete a few of them because I'm going to create them now. Okay. You can delete a table by doing a right click on it and then selecting the option to delete, or you could write the statement to drop the table, which we shall see when we come to those commands. Okay. So yeah, let me go to the query tool now, and we will begin our discussion. We will try to understand the concept of a foreign key. For which the commands are already shared via the Google Drive link that is provided. You can download day 4 SQL commands notepad from there. I'm going to first create one table. And if you observe the definition of this table, create is a DDL command. Okay, create is a DDL command. Why? Because it is defining the structure of the table and creating it. So if you look at the definition of this table, it has 2 columns, department name, which is being marked as primary key, and department head. Both of them are varchar. Once I run this command, it is going to create the table. Now, how do we see whether the table is created or not? We can refresh the tables on the Explorer window and department is created. Okay, and further when you expand it, you can see what all columns are present in it. There are 2 columns, department name and department head. If you further expand each of them, if we have defined any constraints, we can see it. So department has a primary key. We have created one primary key on this, which is on the department name field. Okay. If we define any indexes, we will be able to see them. If we have defined any triggers, we will be able to see them. Okay, any row level security policies, we can see them. A lot of things are there, but we shall now focus on the columns. Okay, the columns that have been created. Now that the table is ready, so the table is defined, the table is created. Okay, we need to insert records into the table. We need to insert data into the table. So I'm going to put a insert statement where I'll be inserting these records. So I'm inserting 3 different records, bulk insert, 3 records are being inserted. There is IT department in this company. There is finance department and there is HR department. Okay. And I will show you the data. So down here, we can see the rows. We can see that it has, these are the 3 departments that are present over here. It is a primary key. Data type is character varying, 30 characters. And we have department head as another column. And you can see the data in it. This is not a primary key and we have not put any not null constraint. Therefore, even if we don't enter a value, it is accepted. Null is taken. So we have an idea now that there are these 3 departments present in this organization or whatever company. Now, let's say we are recruiting people. So we need to make an entry with the for the employee details. We need an employee table where we are going to store the details of the employees. So I have that definition also over here. How am I going to create my employee table now? Okay. So this is the definition of employee table. There is one identification column, which is going to be automatically incremented. So I have used serial as the keyword, and this is a primary key. First name and last name of the employee, the age, the location to which the employee belongs, and department information is available here. So these are the columns that will be present in the employee table. And to create this table, I'm going to run the command. Now, how do we cross-check whether it was successful or not? If we refresh the list of tables, you see now it is 7. Employee table is also ready. Okay, with all of the columns that I had defined, ID, first name, last name, age, location, and department. Table is ready. Now I will insert some data into this table. So remember the definition. Department table has department name as the primary key. Employee table has the ID, employee ID as the primary key. There is still no relationship between these two. This is a separate table. This is a separate table. No table is referencing no other table. There is no cross-reference happening over here. Okay, they are both independent tables. And I'm inserting some data into this table, employee. After which, I shall show you the data using the select command. Okay, now once I run the command, you can see the details. So we have 3 employees, data for 3 employees, one of whom belongs to IT, one of whom belongs to HR department and finance. Absolutely no problem here, because we know that those are the 3 departments that are there in this company, and each of the employee belongs to a valid department. So there is nothing wrong now. Everything seems good. Now, what if I try to insert this record where the department is healthcare, and we don't have a department with the health department called healthcare that exists in this company? Will this be allowed to be entered? Will I be able to enter this record? I will be able to enter it. When I run this query, it is going to be successful. And when I try to see the data in there, it is showing that this employee, Priyadarshini, belongs to the healthcare department. Now, this is a violation, right? We are saying that an employee belongs to a particular department which does not exist. How can we have something of this sort? How can something like this happen? It is happening right now because while entering the data into the employee table, we are not cross-referencing, we are not cross-checking whether the department is valid or not. We need to compare this against the entries in the department table. Only if the department name exists in the department table, then only we should allow people to enter a record into the employee table with that department, right? Provided it is a valid department. So how can we validate whether it is the right department or not? If we cross-reference, if we can somehow check the list of departments in the department table, compare this department here with those departments and validate. So to establish a relation between these two tables, to be able to cross-reference, to cross-check, to validate, the employee table has to reference the department table. Okay, and whatever field that we want to cross-check, we put a foreign key on that field. So now I'm not going to delete the definition of the employee table and recreate it altogether. Instead, I will use an alter command. Okay, alter also comes under DDL, data definition language, because whatever you do with alter command, whether you insert a column or delete a column or change the data type of a field, rename a column, add a constraint, drop a constraint, it is going to deal with the definition, with the structure of the table. So whenever you're dealing with the structure, then it is called as a data definition language command, DDL, alter. So what will be the syntax for an alter command? We will use the alter keyword. Okay, I would like to alter a table. And then what is the name of the table that I'm trying to alter? Employee. What kind of alteration do I want to make to this table? I would like to add foreign key. I would like to add foreign key on this table. Okay, foreign key. On which field am I trying to add foreign key? On the department field. And what is this department field supposed to reference? What is it supposed to cross-check the data with? It references the department table, and in the department table, against which column is it supposed to check the entries? Against department name. So I hope you all understood the syntax. Okay, I'm altering the definition of the employee table, adding a foreign key constraint on it, and this department field, which is the foreign key, is going to reference the department name present under the department table. So the foreign key of one table references the primary key of another table. It cannot reference a non-prime attribute. It can reference only the primary key. When I run this, it is not working. Why do you think it didn't work? Syntax-wise, I didn't make any mistake. My syntax is correct. Then why is it that it's not allowing me to enter or to add a foreign key constraint on the employee table? That is because already we have a violation, right? I already had entered data for the employee Priyadarshini under healthcare department. So there is already a violation present. Look at this. Insert or update on table employee violates the foreign key constraint. Department is equal to healthcare. It is something that is already there in the employee table, but no such department exists in the department table. While adding the constraint, it is also referencing the data. And while referencing the data, it identified there is already a mistake. So it's not even allowing us to put a constraint. Okay. So all of these things, defining the primary key, defining the foreign key, whether we want something as a unique key, whether we would set up a default value, putting the not null constraint, putting the check constraint, these are all done after giving a lot of thought. Okay, randomly people will not create tables. They are going to design their tables. They're going to structure it out. They're going to, upfront decide what should be where so that such violations don't happen. Now here, after a violation has happened, I'm trying to fix it by adding a foreign key, and it's saying, no, you've already made the mistake. You can't do it. So what will I have to do now is I'll have to delete the record for this employee. Anyway, it is an incorrect entry into the table. So I need to delete this record alone, not the entire data in the table. Only I have to target this record where the department is healthcare and delete that one row. So how do we delete a particular record in the table? We can use delete command. Delete from where? Delete from employee table. If I say delete from employee, it is going to delete the entire data. We should be very careful with delete and update statements. Okay, here I have to delete not everything. I have to delete only where the department is equal to healthcare. And and over here in Postgre, this is case sensitive. Okay, this is case sensitive. If you have given H as capital and C as capital, as in my case, I will have to specify it appropriately over here. So this command is going to delete that incorrect entry into the healthcare department for Priya. And once this command is run successfully, let me show you the data again. You see the record for that person, Priya, is gone. There is nobody in healthcare department, which of course does not exist. Now I'll be able to add the constraint. So I hope you all understood this point. Now I'll be able to add the constraint. What am I doing? I'm altering the definition of the employee table by adding a foreign key on this field, which is going to reference the primary key of the department table. So now that the constraint is in place, let me try to insert the data for Priya again into healthcare department itself. And when I run this, it will not allow. Why? We are violating the foreign key constraint. While trying to make this entry into the table, it cross-referenced healthcare with the list of departments in the department table. And it's telling healthcare is not present in the department table. When I cross-check, I figured out that healthcare does not exist. That is what Postgre is telling us. So this is wrong. I'll do one thing. I will change the department of this employee. Okay. Let's say this person has been recruited to work in the HR department. So will I be able to make an entry into the HR department for Priya? Definitely. Why? Because HR department is already there in the department table. So now I'm not violating any constraint. Okay, I'm not violating any constraint, so it is possible. Now I'll show you one more thing. Let's say I would like to delete from department table where the department equal to HR. Okay, let's say the management has decided that they will shut down the HR department. They don't want any employees in the HR department. They will just run with IT and finance department. So if they are going to shut down a department, they will have to delete the entry from the department table. That department, they would like to close it completely. Let's see whether this is allowed or not. I'm going to run this to see whether I can delete it. Sorry, the name of the column. In department table, it is called department name. Okay, let me run it. You see, it's not allowing me to delete it. Why is it not allowing me to delete the HR department now? Look at the explanation. Department name equal to HR is still referenced from table employee. It's being referenced. The HR department is being referenced from the employee table. Therefore, you cannot delete it because there is a constraint that is getting violated here. Why? From department table, if I remove, what is the problem? The problem is that we have employees who have been assigned to that department. Okay, as long as we have entry in the employee table for those employees, we cannot delete that department completely. Okay, cascading effect. I hope you're able to see how it is cascading, how it is cross-checking every time. And because this is being referenced from the employee table, I can't delete it. Then what to do? I will delete all the records of the employees who are working with the HR department. If we are completely shutting down the department, obviously we are going to remove all the employees also, right? So first I'll have to delete it from the employee table. And after I have deleted all the records corresponding to the employees from the HR department, look at that now. I don't have anyone in the HR department. We have only IT and finance. Because there is no more cross-referencing happening to HR, if I delete the department itself from the department table, now it will allow. Okay, earlier this query threw an error. But after removing all the employees who belong to HR department, I'm able to delete the department altogether. Why was it cross-referencing and checking and giving us all those violations and telling us this is not right? Because we had related both the tables using the foreign key concept. Okay. And one point to remember is foreign key of a table references the primary key of the other table. You can't reference a non-prime attribute. A prime attribute or a primary key only can be referenced. So that is about foreign key constraint. I hope it is clear. Let me quickly check the messages before proceeding to the check constraint. Okay. How do we get the link for enabling the binary path on MacBook? On MacBook, how do you get it is? On MacBook also, on the top, on the Explorer, you have to search. Okay, I'll do one thing. Tomorrow's session, I will connect from MacBook and show it to you. Okay, Vishal asked this question. I will connect from MacBook and show it. Okay, so Tawfiq, if you check the messages in the chat, 360DigiTMG team has given a Google Drive link here. You can download all the files from that link. Okay. Will we be taking up subqueries? Yes, Sagar, we will take up subqueries. Okay, Wasim, you're asking me what is serial for? Yesterday we had discussed about serial. In case you missed yesterday's session, please go through that. Serial is where you want to automatically generate a number and automatically increment the number. Okay, when you would like to, like for example, identification number, right? So it has to be automatically generated and it should go in incremental fashion. That is why we use serial. It is equivalent to auto increment in other languages like MySQL. How to insert unlimited data like 1000 rows or 100 columns? See, columns, no matter how many columns you might have, you need to create table query and you have to list out all the columns. There is no shortcut for that, Sagar. Or you could right click on this tables and you can create a table directly from here, wherein you can give a name to the table and you can add columns. If you don't want to write the query, you can add columns like this. Okay, so we can create a table with all the columns and put the constraints, etc. in a very interactive manner over here. So let's say some table called sample and then columns. Okay, we can add the columns by clicking the plus sign, give the name to the column. Let's say I want to have a column called as ID. Then data type you can select for that column. Let's say I want it to be integer. Okay. And then you can decide whether it is supposed to be not null, whether there is a primary key constraint you would like to impose. ID, we might want it as primary key. Okay. And then you can add another column. So even if you have 100 columns, you have to keep defining the table by adding all the columns in it. But how do you bring in lot of data? How do you bring in 1000 rows or 10,000 rows or 1,000,000 rows? Yesterday we had discussed how to import data from a file. So you need to watch yesterday's session, day 3 session, where we had discussed about how to import huge data in one go into the system. All right, next question is, but our column name and employee table is department and the column name and department table is department name. That is fine. As long, see, in the employee table, we have it with a different name. And in the department table, we have it with a different name. But that is okay. Because here we are specifying it, right? From employee table, department column is referencing the department name column present in the department table. So even if the names are different, because we are explicitly mentioning the names, right? Even if the names are different, it will work. There is no problem there. Okay, I don't know what your name is. Could you please show using foreign key reference without reference to primary key of reference table? It is not possible, Priyanka. Foreign key can only reference the primary key of another table. You can't use it. It cannot reference non-prime attribute. That is what I've been telling. Okay. All right. So I think I have answered all the questions. we will now proceed to the next part of today's discussion. We talked about foreign key constraint. We shall now proceed to check constraint. Okay. So you can download the file from the link which is there in the chat box. Okay. And you can practice later on. Okay, we are going to talk about check constraint now. So while defining a table, while defining the structure of a table, DDL command, right? Always remember, create is a DDL command. It has something to do with the structure of the table. And while doing this, while defining itself, you can impose another constraint using the check attribute. Okay, so check feature. Let's say here I want to create a table, school, where there will be name of the student. Okay, let's just call this name and the school name. So student name and school name. School name by default is 360DigiTMG. Age of the person who is enrolling for the program. Now, there is a constraint that we have to put on the age. Anybody who is greater than or equal to 10 years of age can enroll for the courses offered over here. Or let's say greater than 15 years of age can enroll for the courses over here. 10 would be too small. Okay. So anybody who is less than 15 years old should not be enrolled. We can't make an entry for them. We are not allowed to make an entry. So how do we put such a constraint that during data entry itself, we check? And if something violates the constraint, we will not be, that record will not be allowed to be inserted into the table. So I'm going to create a table now with the check constraint in place. So let's try to understand how check constraint works. Okay, so I'm going to create a table with the name school, and let's say this is student name. Okay, and then the school name and the age. And whatever check constraints, whatever you might want to check, the constraint can be kept after the list of columns. Okay, so the constraint, we are going to check the age, the entry made into the age column, and it has to be greater than or equal to 15. Only then it will be allowed. Otherwise, it will not be allowed. Okay, so this is the definition of the table, and I'm going to click on it. It gets created. How do you cross check? You can just refresh the tables and you can now see that school is also there as one of the tables. I'm going to insert some data into this. So what is the syntax for an insert command? Insert comes under DML, data manipulation language. So insert is where we are trying to insert the data into a table, right? We are not dealing with the structure of the table anymore. We are not dealing with the columns or names of the columns or the data type of the column or putting constraints on the columns. No, we are talking about inserting the tuples, the records, the rows. So we're manipulating the data inside the table. So insert comes under DML. I would like to insert where? Into. We select from, we insert into. Into what? Into the table school. So insert into table name. Okay, and then what is it that we would want to insert? I would like to insert student name, comma. I'm not going to mention school name because it already has a default value, and I will just go with the default value. Next thing I would like to insert is the age. Okay, so we provide the list of columns for which we are inserting the data. Then the values. So let's say there is a student, Raj, and of age 15. I would like to insert one more record. So I will just put one more. Let's say there is a student with the name Ravi, and this person is of 20 years old. Now, will this entry be permitted into the table? Yeah, it will be permitted. Why? Because we are not violating the check constraint. If age is greater than or equal to 15, it should be allowed. And here the age is 15 and greater than 15. So check constraint is not violated. It will work. Okay, I'm going to select data from there, and you can see both the records inserted, and even though I had not specified school name, it came. Why did it come? Because it has a default value. All right, now let me try to insert one incorrect record. Insert into table name. Same thing, structure, student name and age. And I would like to insert the values. Let's say there is some person, Priya, and age is 10 or 14. Okay, anything where we are violating the constraint. Okay, so if I try to insert this record into the table for this person, it will not allow. Look at the error message. New row for the relation school. Remember, tables are also called as relations. So the new row for this relation school, it violates the check constraint. Age check. It fails. 14, not allowed. It's violating the check constraint that we have on the age field. Therefore, it is not allowed. Okay, now I will go ahead and change the age. Let's say this person is actually 18 years old. There was a data entry mistake. So the moment I update it to 18 and run this, it will work. And if I select the data from there, if I query the data from there, from that table, you can see how the entry for Priya is successful now. This is check constraint. Okay, I'll give you one more example to drive the point home. Okay, let's say I have a product table. Okay, I'm creating a table for a vendor or a fruit for, let's say a database is being set up, and we're creating a table for a, let's say a supermarket. Okay, and they need a table to store details about the products. Okay, the product number, which is an integer, name of the product, and price of the product will be there in the products table. Okay, and I'm putting a constraint, a check constraint on the price. See, this is a supermarket which is selling different products. Obviously, the price of the product that they would sell will be greater than 0 until and unless they're giving something out for free. Even if they're giving for free, it would be samples, right? So properly, when they're selling products, each product will have some price associated with it. There will be some selling price. And when people try to make an entry into that table, price should be greater than 0. That is my check constraint. I would like to ensure. Okay, so products is already there here. Okay, it got created. I ran the command and it got created. Now let me put some data into that. So I will insert some valid rows here. So what is the syntax again? Insert into table name values. Directly I'm giving values. Here, if you notice, I have not, in the previous case, I was giving the list of columns and then values. Why so? Because if you're not going to provide data for each and every column, if you're going to skip some columns because you have already set up default values, you need to specify the list. But if you know that you're going to provide entry for each and every value in that column, you need not specify the column list. So one will go under product ID, apples will go under name, and this price will go under price, 100.00. Okay, numeric means it will allow decimals also. If I had specified integer, this would have thrown an error. Integer will not take decimals, but numeric data type will allow for decimals. Now, when I run this, both the records will be successfully inserted into the table. Both the records are successfully inserted. Why? Because they are not violating any constraint. The check constraint is fine. The price is greater than 0 in both cases. Now, let's say I need to insert 2 more rows. Okay, we are selling another product, the third one. Let's say this time it is rates or something. And the price by mistake is entered like this. And the fourth one, where we are selling, let's say, plums, and the price is 200. Okay, so maybe while doing the data entry, by mistake, somebody just hit the negative, the minus key. Okay, and it because it came before 100, the hyphen is a negative operator, right? It is negative meaning minus 100. So this is a violation to the check constraint. It is not going to get satisfied. Look at that. New row for the relation products violates check constraint, where we are doing a price check. Products table, price is the column on which the constraint is imposed. The constraint is check constraint. Products table, price column, check constraint has been violated. And this is the failing row. This is the data present in the failing row. Okay, so I'll have to identify that row 3, grapes, and there. And if I make the correction and double click on it to select the statement and click on the execute button, if I run it, you will now notice that the query is successful. And suppose I retrieve the data from the table, you can see all the entries successfully made. So this is about inserting the data and imposing some check constraints if necessary to ensure that data entry mistakes don't happen, to ensure that any sort of incorrect data doesn't get into the table. So check constraints are very, very helpful to make sure that everything is proper. All right. So that was about check constraint. Now I'm looking at your questions again. Okay, Sabarinath, you're asking me, is it mandatory to have primary key in all the tables that we create? It is not mandatory. So for example, here now that I created products table, there is no primary key in it, right? Earlier when I created the school table, I did not define anything as a primary key. It is not mandatory. Why do we use a primary key? If we would like to make sure that in that particular column, only unique entries are allowed. Duplicate entries or repetitive entries are not allowed. To impose that kind of a restriction, you have to go with primary key, which will allow you to recognize each record in a unique manner. So in case you missed out yesterday's recording, please watch it, because we discussed primary key concept in detail and we had also differentiated it from unique key. Okay, insert into, yeah, okay. Can we use float as data type? Because float can accept both integer and decimal. You can use float as data type. Yes, definitely you can use float as data type. Yes. All right. So I hope till here everything is clear, and I hope all the questions are also answered. Let's proceed to the next part of today's discussion, where we will focus on the DDL commands. Okay, data definition language. So DDL stands for data definition language, which focuses on the definition, means the creation, the structure of the table. So what are the commands that come under this? We have create, which helps us to create the table. We have alter. After having created the table, if you need to change the structure of the table, by adding a column or dropping a column, by adding a constraint or dropping a constraint, or renaming a column or changing the data type of a field, we can use alter. Then there is drop. So drop is used to completely delete the table. Okay, there is another statement called as delete that comes under DML, which we will learn maybe in tomorrow's session. So if you have to delete only 1 or 2 rows in the table, you're dealing with manipulating the data in the table. So I want to delete the rows where the product number is 3 and 4. I'm going to focus on that and delete it. Like today earlier, we had deleted the record for HR department. We had deleted the record of an employee. So that is delete, where you're working with the individual rows and deleting what is not necessary. Drop, on the other hand, is where you completely drop the table. Meaning the data in the table is gone. The table itself is gone. Forget about the data. The table itself will be deleted, which means everything, all the data in the table is also going to be deleted, right? You're destroying the container itself. So everything inside it is automatically destroyed. Dropping the table. There is one more called as truncate. Okay, now what is the difference between drop and truncate? Let us say there are 1 million records. You have 1 million records in the table. Okay. So if you issue drop command, it deletes the table and all the records are gone. And you will no longer find the table. With drop command, you will no longer find the table because the table is gone. So let me drop a table and show you. Drop table products. So I created the table products right now, where we can see the data in the products table. We can see the structure. I will even refresh this and show you products here. Look at this. I have products table with all of this data in it. If I issue the command to drop the table, if I run this command to drop the table, and when I refresh this, the table itself is gone. Number of tables have reduced from 8 to 7. The table itself is gone, which means the data is also gone, right? Table itself is gone. Now, let me create it. I'll create the table again and also insert the same data, all these records. So I've created the table again by running these rows, and I'll show you the records. So we have our table back. Okay, we have our table back, and we can see product name, product number, name and price. We can see the number of rows, all the records, everything is there. So if I issue truncate command, what will happen? Truncate table products. Okay, if I issue a truncate command on this, what will happen? It ran successfully. Let me see. When I truncate the table, internally what the system does is it drops the table and recreates the structure. Okay, so the table will be there. After issuing a truncate command, table comes back. But will it have data inside it? No. There is no data. Look at that. We have empty table. So what is the difference between drop and truncate? Drop completely removes the table altogether. What will truncate do is internally it will drop the table, means everything is gone, and immediately it recreates the structure. In a way, it is emptying the table. Okay, but what it actually, we feel as if only the records are gone. We feel as if only the data is gone, but internally what it does is it drops the table and recreates the structure. So it is equivalent to running this command and this command. It drops the table and then it creates the structure, thereby giving us empty table. Okay. Why am I saying this so many times is because you might get confused with DML command. You might feel that, okay, data manipulation language is there. Okay, where we have the insert command, where we insert the records into the table. We have update command, where we modify the data that is present in the table, update it. And we have the delete command, where we delete the records that are present inside the table. Okay, so if I issue a delete command, that will also delete the rows in the table. Truncate command also has removed the rows. Then why is delete appearing under DML? And why are we saying truncate is DDL? Because what happens with delete is it just removes the rows. It will not drop the table and recreate it. Okay. So with delete, let me do one thing. Let me insert the data into the table. And I will write a delete statement here. Okay. Delete from products. So if I say delete from products, it will delete everything, but I will put a where condition. So with delete command, you can write a where clause. You can specifically target a particular row and delete it. Okay, so I would like to delete from products where the, let's say the name of the product, okay? Name is equal to plums. So what will this do? It will delete only one row. It will delete only one row corresponding to plums. And later when I select the data from there, you will see the other 3 rows are present. Only that one particular row corresponding to plums is deleted. It is manipulating the data inside the table by deleting the data. You can focus on a few records and delete them. So that is why this is under DML. Okay. And if at all, let's say there is 1 million records again. If you issue a delete command, And if you're trying to delete 1 million records, it will take a lot of time. It will go row by row. Row by row, it will delete all the records. One after the other, it will delete the records and empty the table. Okay. So the answer to the question, does truncate and delete do the same job? With delete, you can use the where clause. With truncate, you cannot use it. That is the first difference. With delete, if there are 10,000 rows and you issue a delete command, it will remove all the records one by one, which will take time. To delete such huge data, it will take time because it's going row by row and deleting the records, all of them. So if I say delete from products, I'm basically asking it to remove everything. Okay, it took 69 milliseconds. Here we have very little data, so you may not be able to see that difference, but it has deleted and left me with an empty table. Okay, it left me with an empty table. But when I go and issue a truncate command, okay, now I have my data in place. Sorry. Okay, all the records are back. And if I issue a truncate command, what will happen? It drops the table and recreates it. Instantly, it will happen. Look at the difference. With a delete statement, when I said delete from products, it took 69 milliseconds and I had only 3 rows. For deleting 3 rows, it took 69 milliseconds because it was deleting the rows one after the other. But when I issued a truncate command on the same data, it dropped the table and recreated it. It is not bothered about how many rows are there. There could be 10,000, there could be 1 million, there could be whatever number of rows. It just drops it. Okay, and it recreates the structure and it took just 38 milliseconds. I hope all of you are able to understand the difference between drop, truncate, and delete. Drop removes the table completely. You no longer have access to it. Truncate will internally drop the table and recreate the structure, presenting the empty table to you again. With delete, you can use the where condition. If you don't put the where condition, it is going to delete all the rows, but it is going to delete the rows one by one. So it might take a lot of time to delete the data from a table which has a lot of records, like 10,000 records, using delete statement. But with truncate statement, it does not matter how many rows are there. It could be just 1 row or it could be 1 million rows. Instantaneously, it will drop the table and recreate it. That's the difference between the two. You can't use where clause in drop and truncate. Not possible, Shiva. That is what we're trying to discuss. Okay, whoever has asked this, I hope it's clear. Priyanka, Aisha, Shiva. I hope it's clear. Okay, that is why delete comes under data manipulation language. And truncate, though it is recreating the structure, it goes under data definition language. End of the day, both of them present empty tables, but the way they are doing it is different. So this goes under DDL, whereas this comes under DML, data manipulation language. I'm so sorry, because we have too much to cover in too little time. Okay, so I would request you to watch this part of the recording again if there is any doubt. Okay, Arunachalam, it's a request, kind request to watch this part of the video wherever you're confused one more time. It is anyway going to be available on YouTube forever, so you can just play it again. All right. So with respect to DDL, we talked about create. We talked about drop, and we talked about truncate. No, Kiran, the concept of recreating the table structure does not come. If it is a delete command, you're only removing the records. You're not touching the structure of the table at all. You're only removing the tuples, the rows. You're not dealing with the columns. It is DML, data manipulation. Can we retrieve the truncated or dropped or deleted records? We can do, as long as you don't issue a commit statement. You can use rollback and bring back the data. It is possible, Naveen. It is possible. Now we will focus on the alter statement. Alter is something that comes under DDL. Okay, data definition language. We use alter here. So we are talking about changing the structure of the table, right? DDL meaning changing the structure of the table. So what kind of alteration can we do to the structure of the table? We can, as I was telling, we can add a column. Okay, suppose now we have our table student. Okay, let's check the columns that we have in the student table. What are the columns over here? We have ID, first name, last name, age, course enrolled, course fee, and employee location. So let's say I would like to add another column. Okay, or let's say I would like to drop a column. I would like to drop the location ID and all this. We have employee location. I would like to drop or add a column. Okay, let me add a column first. Why this confusion? Let me add a column. So what is the syntax to add a new column into the table? We say add, okay, alter. We're going to alter. What are we trying to alter? The table. Which table? Student. Okay, and what alteration would I like to do here? I would like to add. What would I like to add? A column. What is the name of the column that I'm trying to add? I would like to add a column called location. And we have to give the data type. Okay, the data type. And let's say I wanted to have not null constraint also, and I would like to give a default value also as, let's say, Chennai. Okay, so when I run this command, what will happen? Right now we have ID, first name, last name, age, course enrolled, fee, and employee location. And I'm adding another column to this table with the name, location of varchar 30, data type, not null constraint, and it has a default location value, Chennai. So when I run this command, if it is successful, as it is successful, you can see, if I refresh the column list, you can see location also got included. Okay, location got included. Now let's say I want to drop it. I don't want this. I would like to delete it. Then what should I do? I would like to alter the table. Which table? Student. And what type of alteration am I talking about over here? I would like to drop. What? A column. So what is the name of the column that I would like to drop? Location. Now you don't have to, go ahead and specify about the constraints. If the column is removed, all the constraints also are automatically gone. So when I run this, the column is dropped. It is successful. When I go ahead and refresh it, you will notice how location is no longer there. Okay. Before we proceed to the next command, the team has shared the links with you all. Please do join us on Facebook. Please do subscribe to our to our YouTube channel if you have not yet done that. I'm sure all of you have subscribed, but I request anybody who's joining new and has not yet subscribed to do it. See, it is free for you. It doesn't cost you anything to hit the subscribe button, but it's a huge motivation to us. Okay, when we see those numbers increasing, that is what gives us the motivation to go ahead and conduct many more such sessions. Okay, please do encourage us by subscribing to our channel, and please do like the video if you found it helpful. Okay, few parts of it which were not very clear, maybe the first time, you might want to watch it again. And still, if it's not clear, you have any doubts, you let me know. I will take it up in the subsequent sessions. Okay, so I hope all of you will subscribe. I hope to see that number increase. Please give us the motivation. Okay, having said that, let's proceed now. Right. So I added a column. I even deleted a column, dropped it. Now let's say I want to change the data type, or I would like to just change the number of characters given to the location column or to the employee column. Okay, let me show you the properties here. So in this particular table, student, these are all the columns that we have. And the first name, for the first name, we have allotted 50 characters. It is varchar, character varying, and the length is 50. Let's say 50 is too much. Okay, nobody's first name will be 50 characters long. It is very unlikely. So I would like to alter it and reduce it to maybe 20. Okay, the number of characters in the first name, I would like to reduce it to 20. So how do we change the data type, alter it. So again, the same command, alter table, name of the table, student. And what am I trying to do now? I'm not trying to add something. I'm not trying to drop or delete something. I'm trying to make an alteration. I'm trying to make a modification. So again, alter. What am I trying to alter? A column. Okay, I'm trying to alter the column. First name. Okay, and I want to change its type to varchar of 20. It was 50, and I would like to reduce the amount of space I'm reserving for the first name to 20. So when I run this command, and if it is successful, as you can see it is, when we check, let me just refresh it and let me check the properties. Okay, I'm checking the properties. Now when I go under columns, you can see how first name, the length has reduced to 20. Okay, so we successfully reduced the length of the column to just 20 characters. What else can we do? We can rename a column. Okay, so I'm going to alter the table student, and this time I would like to rename column. Which column? Let's say the first name. Okay, I would rename column first name to, let's say, given name. Okay, this is the name. So first name is supposed to change to given name. So if I run this, it will happen. And now when I refresh the student table and show you the columns, you see, it is not first name anymore. It has been renamed to a new name, which is called as given name. Okay, like that. And not just this, we had seen another alter statement today at the beginning of the session. What was that? Alter table employee, and then I put a foreign key constraint on it. So after defining the employee table, later on when I realized that it is better to have a foreign key constraint to make sure that data is validated, I had altered the table employee and added a foreign key constraint on that field. So we can also add constraints. We can drop constraints. Okay. We can add not null constraint. We can add check constraint. So all those things can be done by using the alter statement. So we have covered DDL commands today. What are the commands that come under DDL? Create, alter, drop, and truncate. In tomorrow's session, we will focus on DML commands, the most important ones for a data analyst or a scientist, because on a daily basis, you may not be creating tables. You may not be inserting data into the tables, but you would most often be retrieving the data. You would most often be retrieving, querying the data for your analysis. Fetching the data and then working with that data is very important. That is what we do on a daily basis. So we will start off with DML commands in tomorrow's session. Okay, so that is it that I had planned for today. Thank you all so much for your support. I hope all your questions have been answered. Okay, Priyanka, you're telling me in real-time project, which scenario we can use Truncate? Priyanka, when you're dealing with big data, and for some reason, if you have to delete the entire data in one go, you can use Truncate command. Are the previous sessions available in YouTube? Yes, they are available in YouTube. You can check the videos of the channel. Okay, when you visit 360DigiTMG and go to videos part, okay, Mr. Murthy, when you go to the videos part, at the top of the list only, you will find these commands, these videos, because we have started the trainings recently. You will find them there. Alter and modify are the same. Yeah. It could be tool specific, but yeah, they pretty much do the same thing. Is it available in the live section of the channel? It should be available, Vishal. You will find them. Okay, thank you all so much, and please do subscribe. Do not forget to hit the like button before your leave. What is the difference between alter command in DDL and update command in DML? Okay. Alter command is changing the structure. See, DDL and DML, DDL is to do with the definition. Definition meaning we are altering the structure of the table. Okay. Alter command in DDL is going to help us add a column or delete a column. Okay. Or add a constraint on a column, change the data type of a column. But what will update command do? It will manipulate the records. See, some person's name is given as Priya Sharma, and you have to update it to something else, Priya Kumari. So then you use DML. The records, when you're dealing with the tuples, it is DML. When you're dealing with the structure, it is DDL. Okay, anyway, we will see that tomorrow. The link to the material is there in the chat box. Siva, can you just scroll up in the live chat? Just scroll up in the live chat at the top. The fourth message is where you have been given a link, Google Drive link, from where you can access all the queries that we have used, all the files that we have used in the past 3 days and today, 4 days. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. See you tomorrow for the next session. Bye-bye.